Unsyndicated presents Off the Air with Sean Baligian.
Hey, good evening. So glad you can join us along with my pal Blake. Hit the bell right now, Blake. Blake, of course, from the Mitch Album Show and Sports Rap on 760 WJR. My name is Sean Baligian. Of course, Todd is with us. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday night. I want to get this out of the way because we would be absolutely heartless and remiss if we didn't mention this, but thoughts and prayers and just a serious head shake at how sucky society is today over the terrible tragedy today in Kansas City. And Blake, I was trying to personalize it for me. I couldn't think of any scenario that would cause me to go to like a championship parade. And I've been to plenty only because I've had to broadcast from them before, but like just me and the boys, like, hey, Blake, what are you doing today? Do you want to go to fill in the blank parade or anything like that? What breaks my heart when something like this happens, though, is when you hear about the kids being involved, because as a father, especially when my kids were younger, that is something that I would have taken my kids to. And Blake, what else can I say? You're exhausted by it. You hear these stories and you're exhausted by it. I don't have an answer. I'm not going to pretend to have an answer. To be honest with you, it's one of those things that you just feel sick in your stomach when you hear things like this. And we wanted to mention that like everything else, but
we're a year and a couple days from
a year and a day at Michigan State. Yeah, a year and a day. It was a year ago yesterday that shooting happened. You can never say you're numb to it, right? You can't. You can't be numb to it. I'm just I'm beaten down by it.
Yeah,
I am. I'm beaten down by it, and that's a me problem because it's a society problem.
Unfortunately, this is something like new because it's a different type of event and that kind of stuff. So that changes it obviously a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because, thank God we haven't had any of these types of tragedies at sporting events like that. And I mean, obviously this was at a celebration for a sporting event, but still, I mean, it's horrible. It's disgusting. And, now all the talking heads are going to talk about all the changes that they're not going to make. So
it's just gross. The whole thing's gross, and you hear it and it breaks your heart. But we wanted to have fun tonight. We wanted to talk about the reasons, and I think we all need it. Quite frankly, we weren't planning to do this. As a matter of fact, I told Blake about it just literally 5 minutes ago. Typical Baligian, right, Blake? But I had a feeling that you might be able to you might be able to change on the fly, and this is where we're going to ask all you guys as well. Okay, anybody who's involved in the chat, we have the StreamYard chat up right now, whether it be Facebook, and if you're watching on Twitter, sorry I can't look at the comments live or anything, but the people following us on Facebook Live, and as you watch this later, as I know people are apt to do, because the data is coming in, and it's amazing how many people, watch later. And we thank each and every one of you for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Reasons why we love sports. It might be a particular event. It might be a particular venue. It might be a particular memory. It might be whatever you want to choose. And Blake, you and I think we could go rapid fire for the next 15 minutes. And I have a feeling that you and I, 10 of those minutes might be based in college football, because one of the big reasons why I like Blake is because Blake is a big college football fan. I don't know if I'd like Blake if Blake wasn't such a big college football fan. I'm not sure. I don't know.
We have other things that we agree on.
Yeah, but that was, to me, that was the clincher.
No,
you like to come over and eat my food too, so that's a bonus as well.
No, but the college football thing, definitely. It was like it was when we had that together. It was like, oh, this is gonna work.
May I start? I have said this for many, many years, and I think anybody that knows me knows. Listen, hockey is my favorite sport. Period. It is. It always has been. It always will be. But I think arguably the coolest thing in sports for me, Blake, is being on campus on a Saturday morning. I can't explain it. I don't care what campus it is. I really don't. I've been fortunate to be at Michigan State on Saturday mornings. I've been fortunate to be at Michigan on Saturday mornings, Notre Dame on Saturday mornings, all across the Mid-American Conference when I was doing broadcasts for Toledo, all across the GLIAC as I still do broadcasts for Wayne State. I don't know how to explain it, okay? There's just something cool being on campus on a Saturday morning. I've never been able to put my finger on it, and I'm not exactly tailgate guy. I know that's something you and I talked about in the fall when we were working together, before I got fired. I'm not tailgate guy. And what I mean by that is you have a plate of sausages, I'll eat 3 of them. Oh, there's some brisket over there, I'll eat a plate. But I'm the type of guy, Blake, when I go to a game, okay, I don't want to have 17 drinks and 5 Jell-O shots. You know what I mean? I want to keep my wits about me. I want to go into the game. I want to remember the game. I want to have, everything that way. Maybe I'll have a beer. Okay, maybe I'll have 2. But because of that, I'm not tailgate guy. I like to walk around and just, for lack of a better term, just take it all in.
Yeah, people watch a little bit.
Yeah.
Take in the scene, because there's nothing else in American sports like a college football Saturday. You can't recreate that in anything.
Nope.
It's something special, and that's part of the reason why the sport is what it is.
So you get where I'm going with this, and to everybody watching, if you want to participate, fire in reasons why you love sports. It is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
After all,
we're in a very lovey mood.
Love is in the air, and we're going to confess, different crushes that we have later on too. I know who your crush is, and you know who my crush is. Maybe we could confess a couple more. All right, your turn, Blake. Rapid fire. What do you love about sports?
The first thing that came to mind is the Rose Bowl. So we're right back to college football, but just that scene in Pasadena and the time, how they timed the game to the sunset and that backdrop and everything about it. It's just, there's nothing like it in sports. It's absolutely beautiful. And obviously, like this year, Michigan playing in it added a whole nother level to it for me. But as we've talked about before, like for me, that game has always been special, and it will always be special. The Rose Bowl is the granddaddy of them all, and there's nothing else like it. It's absolutely beautiful.
Having a chance to go out there, and I know many of you probably heard the story when the Spartans did whether people want to admit it or not a lot of Spartan fans thought they would do, and knocked off Ohio State in that 2013 Big Ten championship game. I announced to my family 10 seconds before the game was over, look, we usually have a New Year's Eve party. I'm not having a New Year's Eve party this year. I'm going to the Rose Bowl. There is no way I am missing that. There's no possible way that I'm missing that. And, the cool thing about it is my family couldn't have been more supportive. The next day, there were a couple plane tickets sitting on the desk before I went to Fox 2, which was awesome. And it was one of those things where I sat back and there was just no way I was going to miss that. That was a promise that I made to myself when I was a little kid. And, Blake, I know I've told you this. I tell anybody else, if you have a chance to go, it is one of the most unique experiences. You're walking down a street in a neighborhood.
Mhm.
I'm not making this up. And then all of a sudden there's the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm not like, you're literally, it's like you're walking down the street in your neighborhood, but at the end of the block, it's not like you turn on the road to turn out to whatever, road you live by. It's like the end of the block. Oh, hey, cool. There's the Rose Bowl. It's such a
Yeah.
cool, unique event. It's unbelievable. L-Town in the house, an old buddy of mine, Mike Kujawa, very sad prayers for the family, Sean. No doubt about that. Our buddy Todd said, I like being on campus on Saturday, but don't like being in the stands. Too many woo girls and guys in the stands with zero knowledge. I've learned to turn that off, but Todd, to your point, that's the number one reason why I don't like going to sports bars to watch a game. It's not. I know, Blake, you feel the same way. You're not going to catch me in a sports bar watching a game. It's just not going to happen. All right. So I guess I'm next. Tammy's on there. Hi, Tammy. Good evening. Tammy, I know what a big hockey fan you are. I had a rediscovery on Saturday night, Blake. I'm not joking. I had a rediscovery. Hockey night in Canada today is not the hockey night in Canada that we all grew up with. And I think a big part of it is because of Don Cherry. No doubt. I'm not going to back down from that. But the simplicity of sitting at home on a Saturday night, watching back-to-back games on CBC and seeing, by the way, Leo Rasico, seeing those commercials, the simplicity of sitting by yourself on a Saturday night watching two hockey games, can't put a price tag on it. It like, honestly, I told everybody I know, I was like, I forgot what that was like because, life is so busy. You have this person coming in and that person in. I had nothing going on Saturday. Everyone in my family was out of town. And I was like, I can't tell you the last time I sat down at like 6:50 on a Saturday night and said, not only am I going to watch the 7:00 game, but I'm going to sit here and watch the 10:30 game. To sit there through that whole thing, and I got to be honest with you, I turned the channel during the intermissions, which you never used to do on CBC.
Yeah.
But my gosh, hockey night in Canada, another one of the reasons why sports are so great, and I love sports.
I don't know if we've talked about this. I grew up watching Hockey Night in Canada because we had there was a stretch of time where, especially late spring, early summer, my mom would just cut the cable for the summer. And so, but we would still get CBC. So I would watch Hockey Night in Canada. That was the only way I could watch hockey. So I'm 100% with you. I grew up on Hockey Night in Canada. It was Hockey Night in Canada, and to segue into my summers. So I'm a Cubs fan. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
And there's something there's something very, very special to me about Wrigley. I've gone twice, and I can't wait to go again. Wrigleyville, the whole experience. I think it's a very, very special and hard to recreate place in sports. I absolutely love it. I've sat first baseline. I've sat in the bleachers. I will pick the bleachers every time. The bleacher, it's incredible. I absolutely love Wrigley. But to go back to what you were saying, so in the summers, I didn't have cable again. So WGN, I got that at home though. So I could watch Cubs games, and that's how I became a Cubs fan, literally. It was just, I had no other options. My mom cut the cable because she wanted me to go outside and play. Well, I picked up Cubs games. So, but Wrigley is very, very special to me. I love that place.
Love it. Some of the comments, let me scroll up. I know Tammy said, Hockey Night in Canada is terrible without grapes. I don't watch the intermissions anymore. I just don't. I don't. It's not something that interests me in any way, shape, or form anymore. Sorry. It used to be something that I loved. Darren said agreed about Cherry. Tammy said, I still watch CBC. If I can't watch a game in my seat at LCA, then I want to be at home watching the games on my couch. Todd said Ernie Harwell on the night broadcast, driving home from work, the beach, days at the pool. that was a different era because like Blake, like honestly, that's what we did when we were kids. Like in the summertime, you would be playing, I don't know, baseball down at Coolidge Elementary. You'd be playing, wiffle ball in your buddy's backyard, and somebody had a transistor radio. And honestly, it was the soundtrack of summer. Inevitably, Ernie Harwell was on the radio, and everybody was listening to the Tigers, whether it was a good year, whether it was a bad year. And that's an era that's gone by. But what Todd's saying, there's validity to it. I mean, I think everybody in here of a certain age would agree. That's just what we did. Like Sunday afternoon, you get home from church and you're chilling out, hanging out with your friends in the neighborhood. Somebody had the radio on and you had the Tiger game on. That was just the way it was in the summertime,
Yeah. I mean, that was obviously a little before my time, but yeah, 100%. I can still remember vividly the summer night when everything happened with Porcello. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. Like I remember being at my friend's house and someone got an alert on their phone of what was going on, and I remember vividly watching that moment live.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Tammy, I hate the bar scene. I dislike the viewing parties that the Wings have. I can't do it. I just, no offense. I just, especially that I've gotten older. I used to like host so many quote unquote bar nights and everything, back in the day, it was a different era back then. I just want to sit at home. Gordy, my buddy Gordy, speaking of L-Town, said AJ Gus Gervais selling fur coats. Gordy, we actually had a discussion last Saturday. I posted a picture of Leo Rasico on Twitter, and we just started going back and forth naming all the old school CBC commercials, whether it be for Don Cherry's Grapevine, whether it be for National Sports Center. Remember the National Sports Center commercials, Tunnel Barbecue, Stony Point Tavern. It was hysterical, like to the point where like all these Windsorites were going, oh my gosh, you could totally tell that you guys watch Hockey Night in Canada. I go, it's all I did. My friends would make fun of me. It's Gordy, a mutual friend, Tony Z. We'll call him Tony Z. He and I caught up a couple days ago, and that's what he brought. We were talking. He goes, dude, I still remember it'd be like Saturday night. And Baligian, what are you doing tonight? What are you talking about? It's Saturday night. I'm staying in. It's Hockey Night in Canada. And Blake, that's what I did. Like that's just, you stayed in.
Yeah.
Well, that's what losers like me did. Casey had a comment earlier. I wanted to get to Casey's comment as we're talking about our love affair with sports. That's what we're doing today with Valentine's Day. What I love about sports is because it brings everyone together, fathers and sons and daughters. I took my son to his first NFL game, January 8th, 2023 at Lambeau, when the Lions beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. How can you put a price tag on that?
You can't.
So here's the funny thing. I often think back, and I think many of you guys know this, the Maglio Ordonez home run in Game 4 of the ALCS. My son and I were right there. Like my phone started blowing up immediately because people saw me when the home run got hit and everything. An incredible memory, right? Like one you'll never forget. Well, here's the problem with that moment, Blake. My son doesn't remember it. He had just turned 7. He had just turned 7. And he's like, Dad, I remember like all the people, and I remember like you literally put me on top of your shoulders. And I go, yeah, it was, the spontaneous party that broke out on Montcalm down there. It was just like, Jack, don't stand next to me, hold my hand, just get up on my shoulders and we'll make our way to the. But he doesn't remember the homer. He doesn't remember the game and all that stuff. But we have the pictures of it and everything. So that's totally.
That is the best part about like modern sports. Like you can pull that up on YouTube right now and relive it forever.
Yep. Absolutely. Jason said, listening to Ernie Harwell on the radio was a huge part of my childhood while playing pickup games at the Diamond by my house. And I know this, Jason's like way up in Escanaba, right? The Eskimo country. That's just what our generation did. Like, honestly, we got into this phase for a few summers in a row, Blake, where we would just have wiffle ball like all day. And, we'd come up, we'd perfect our trick pitch and everything. And I can remember sitting in my buddy Joe Gooley's backyard, and we'd have the radio on in his garage and trying to hit it over. We called it the Red Monster. His big garage, like the back end of his garage had this big, wall on it. And we called it the Red Monster, like the Green Monster in Boston. And yeah, soundtrack of our youth, man. It really was. Tony said was a huge Walter Payton fan and a Bears fan during the 80s. You feel shame. I've confessed this many times, Tony. You've probably heard. I hated the Bears more. I can't, and to this day, I hate the Bears.
Yeah, I was going to say, you put that in past tense. It's not in past tense.
I hate the Bears. And you know what it was, though? Like, as I've gotten older, I realized that it was pure jealousy. The Bears were doing things in the 80s that I wish my team could have done. They had a swagger. They had an attitude. They had sweetness. And that's all it was. I mean, they ran the division. I'm still surprised they only won one Super Bowl. But my gosh, I hated the Bears. Oh, I hated the Bears. I hated the Bears with everything inside of me. So that we're having some fun. Blake, another reason you love sports.
It's so hard not for me not to just go back to college football, but I'm going to do it anyways.
All right.
There's watching College Game Day on a fall Saturday. And I know it's not the show it used to be. And I know Lee Corso obviously has had some health issues and everything. But there's still just, it goes back to what you were talking about with the tailgating. That atmosphere and seeing those crowds. And I think Herb Street is incredible at what he does, even though he's a Buckeye. I absolutely still love that show. It might not teach me a damn thing, but there's just something about it. I have to have it on.
I agree.
Every single Saturday morning in the fall. For
all the things that ESPN now does wrong, okay? And I'm not joking. I can't watch any of their, pardon my interruption, yelling Stephen A. Smith crap. Like, I can't watch any of it. Like, I really do feel like an old guy because I can't stomach 10 seconds of that crap. For everything that they do wrong, I'm sorry. I'm with you. I think Game Day is still so right. I think it's so damn right. Casey, I was at the ALCS with my dad in 2006. He passed in 2017. That was my best father-son moment, Game 4, that is. What an incredible week that was to hammer the Yankees in Game 4, one Saturday in October, and then have the sweep of the A's the next Saturday in October. What a magical, magical time that was. Darren said, I was at College Game Day when it was at Western, and it was incredible. That's one thing. I don't think I've been on campus when Game Day has been at a game. I probably have been, but I never made my way over. As Hank Stram would say, I never matriculated my way over to like where Game Day was. And at one point in time, I did do some radio with Kirk Herbstreit back in the day, but
I didn't know that.
True story. Yeah, they had something called when he was working down in Columbus, it was called the Buckeye Road Caravan or something like that.
Yuck.
And they came to Toledo, and I was a guest on the show, and it was really cool because Herbstreit said, dude, you know your crap if you want to do some stuff with us. And so, yeah, I did some stuff with them. Awesome. You know, at the time I was calling Toledo games, and I was co-hosting the Gary Pinkel show for the Toledo Rockets and everything. So he came down there and did his show from a sports bar called Arnie's down in Toledo. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. I haven't talked to him in years, but couldn't have been a nicer guy. Really just a good dude. You got to remember, Blake, at the time, he was only, gosh, I think that was 98. So, I mean, he's only 6 years after his career.
Yeah.
You know, so that's incredible. But Adam said the Super Bowl shuffle. Okay, I kind of like that. I never admitted it back then, but Blake, you've seen the Super Bowl shuffle, right? The Bears.
I have no clue what you're talking
Okay,
about.
you have to look up the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Okay.
They made in 1985. Boy, do I sound like an old man. Back in 1985, there were these things called music videos. They made this music video basically calling their shot before the season.
Oh, okay. I have seen this.
We're
I
not
know what you're
here to
talking
start
about.
no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah.
And then it was so weird because like almost every other team in the league felt like they had to make their own video as well. And nothing was going to compare to that. Nothing was going to compare to that. And of course, it was the Bears kind of calling their shot. And the Bears, of course, end up winning the Super Bowl. So Tony said, what hat are you wearing tonight, Sean? Did that show up there?
Shout out Wayne State.
Yeah. I love going to Tom Adams Field. I miss the noon games there, Blake. I do. I miss the noon games there. But getting in Midtown Detroit, it's such a unique experience. Getting in there early in the day, and it's a great place to see college football. And of course, I'm incredibly biased because I've been fortunate to do their games for the last 15 years. But it's one of the more underrated places to see a college football game, as far as I'm concerned. I have a feeling that you'll agree with that.
Yeah, I think I've been to one game there because you know how I enjoy my Saturdays. But yes, I love Midtown. I think Midtown is supremely underrated. I mean, obviously, as a former Warrior myself, a proud alum.
I don't know who N. Hendy is, but I love what their message is. Blake, hockey is life.
Can I tell this story real
N.
quick?
Hendy, I love you for saying that. I do. Now, guess what? With it being Valentine's Day, my new crush is on you for saying that.
So this is one of my absolute best friends, Nick Hendy. Nick's
invited to the barbecue now. There. How's that?
Yeah. No, you would love Nick.
Okay, good.
Nick's the best. Salt of the earth guy. So in 2014, I want to say 2013, 2014, I've known Nick for over 10 years. We worked together at a Play It Again Sports back in my hometown. He's the best. Nick played high school hockey, the whole nine. He tweeted out one night at like 11:30 at night. He said, I hate when people say hockey is such a simple game. No MFer, it's life. And it was just the most random tweet. And I've never loved something more in my whole life. I plan to make a blanket out of that tweet.
Nick and I are going to be real good friends.
Yes,
Nick doesn't know that
Nick.
yet. Nick doesn't know that yet, but I have a feeling that Nick and I are going to be real good friends. Yes. There's something last year, late in the wing season, I took my daughter down there for a Saturday matinee games. I miss Saturday and Sunday matinee games in the National Hockey League. I miss it. I think I wish they do more of them. I know there are a few during the season, but Saturday and Sunday matinee games, like taking my daughter down there, I think it was against Columbus last year, if memory serves me correct. Taking my daughter down there for like a Saturday afternoon and, then riding down Woodward and all right, let's take the long way to get back home and everything. You can't put a price tag on stuff like that. You really can't. You can't put a price tag on that. You know what, Blake? I told you this before. I think one day when my career is over, I'll sit back and kind of look at everything and go, wow, that was pretty cool. I don't get caught up in that too much. The one thing that I have an exception for, and I told you, well, there are two things, like calling a game in the National Hockey League. You'll never take that away from me. Watching the Heisman vote to this day, I feel like the same 8-year-old kid who would be sitting in the front room on a blanket with my dad watching the Heisman presentation. And it doesn't matter whether I have a vote or not. It's one of the coolest things in the world that I do. But Blake, honest to goodness, every year, that's something I don't miss. Watching the Heisman presentation, because I don't think there is a better individual award in all of sports. That's something I swear to God, I'm an 8-year-old kid. Every December night that happens.
It's like that whole day, like Army, Navy leading right into that night. It's just, yes. I know I've told you this before, but I've watched Joe Burrow's Heisman speech more times than I would care to admit, and may or may not have shed tears watching it multiple times. I love him.
All right, Nick's in for the barbecue. All right, so tentatively right now, what are we talking about? We're talking about when the tournament starts. Maybe that first day or the second day of the tournament. Maybe we could figure something out that day.
Yeah, some March Madness action.
Everybody can call in sick. Well, those of you who are actually employed.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough for me. Well, I don't know, Jim.
Are you going to confess your love for Romo? That really, it's
no.
You love Romo so much.
When we were talking about
that
Herb
picture,
Street,
I saw the picture.
Don't do it, Todd. When we were talking about Herb Street, though, all I was thinking about is that's how broadcasters are supposed to be brought up.
Yeah,
like he actually took the time, like learned his craft instead of Romo, who just got thrown into the A team and just stinks.
No, I hear you. Mediocre gamer, no matter how the Tigers will do this season, baseball will always be my first love with sports. I have admitted this more times you could shake a stick at. Let me admit it one more time. I was not the biggest baseball fan growing up. It was just kind of there. And for whatever reason, I still don't know how and why it happened. My son absolutely fell in love with baseball. And I have more of an appreciation for the game than you can imagine now. I mean, all those years, we got tickets, I think in 04. We went down so much in like 03. No, it was 05. We went down so much in 03 and 04. I literally said, well, why don't I just get season tickets? And, we would go 30 some odd times a game every year. Like every year, that's just what we did. And to be able to share that with my son, good and bad, was awesome. Down there for so many incredible memories, but there's nothing like seeing a ball game with your boys. There really isn't. Because in football, we all just were focused. In hockey, I don't say a word. I mean, nothing comes out of my mouth. You're going to have to trust me when I say that. I don't like going to games with people because I just get lost in the game and everything. But baseball is more relaxing. And shortly before my father passed away, to be able to go down there and take him to a game. And my old man, God rest his soul, was like he was so sick, but like he said to me, we had pretty good seats and everything. He was like, "Are these your seats?" I was like, "Yeah, Dad, these are our seats." And he's like, "Really? Like you guys come sit in these seats all the time?" And I was like, "Dad, I wish I'd have taken you earlier," but he had kind of been sick for a while. And, we kind of knew that my dad was, going downhill. And I think he kind of knew it at the time, but to be able to go and see a game with him like that, that's just a wonderful memory I have with my father that, you can't put a price tag on, you just can't put a price tag on it.
100%.
Jason said, first time walking into the Joe in the big house made me stop and catch my breath. Also got to go to old Make Believe's Garden to see them play the Messier Canucks. That was crazy surreal, but they gave out free beer during the second intermission if you handed in a coupon from the program. Nobody ever took the coupon, so I don't really remember the third period. Next thing I remember, I was at the bar across the street. Yeah, that was an interesting place, Maple Leaf Garden. It was just an interesting place and an interesting spot of town. No doubt about that. All right, listen, Blake, now here's where you're going to confess to everybody how you love Tony Romo, and we're just going to get it off the chest, and it's okay. There's been a lot of there's that. Todd, can you put that picture up again? Look at
no. Get it off the screen.
Look at his dumb face.
He's got such a dumb punchable face.
It is. It's a dumb punchable face.
He's the worst.
All right, Blake. We love our guys, right? We love guys in this town, with the exception of maybe Javi Baez. But we love guys in this town. But one of the things that we talked about, we wanted to get into, is guys from another team that you have a crush on. Jason, gosh damn it, you stole my thunder on one, but I'm going to let you keep it. So Blake, I'm going to let you go first. I know who you're going to say, because like the Blake giggle, I think, originated talking about this guy actually. And there it is right there. But go right ahead.
It's Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow. It's always been Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow. I have such a big crush on Joe Burrow. And it all starts from 2019 LSU, that team that I think about way too often, that NFL team that was playing college football. Joe Burrow is he's the best.
I've said this to you before. That was probably the second best college football team I've ever seen. I still say the 95 Nebraska Cornhuskers. And if you don't believe me, and I know you took me up on this, go look at their cumulative score, what they did to people. They just destroyed people all year. They were an absolute machine. But that LSU team was a wagon.
Unreal.
They were
absolutely unreal.
I love, now Jason, I'm going to let you keep him as your boyfriend. I love watching Connor McDavid play. I do. I love watching Connor McDavid play. And last night is a perfect example, because you're watching the game and obviously has an impact, but you're like, he's got 6 points? Seriously? He's got 6 points right now? And having seen him like legitimately in his first game in the OHL as an underager, you know, he got the special exemption, came into the league when he was 15 years old. Blake, I'm not joking. I looked at my broadcast partner and we were just like, okay, this kid's going to be good. He's 15. You know, he's playing with a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds and he's lighting it up, absolutely lighting it up. But I'm going to tell you what, and I know this won't surprise anybody, I am developing a real strong, almost unhealthy love affair for Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. I just love watching the kid play. And that doesn't count because everybody knows that I'm a Habs fan, but I like that kid's always been a favorite of mine, but he's gone like this recently. And it has been a joy. So I'll go NFL. I love Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. I love his goofy face. I love the dumb things he does. You know what it reminds me of, Blake? It reminds me of me. Because I do dumb things. I have dumb things to say. I do a lot of dumb things, you know, from working with me. So no, you're supposed to argue and go, no, Baligian, no.
Can't argue that point.
There's nothing dumb about you. So because of that, like, no, I love watching Josh Allen. I do. I don't know what I find myself laughing when I watch Josh Allen just do Josh Allen things, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. If I didn't have Joe Burrow, he'd be there for me as well.
Hey, listen, we want to get to some of your submissions in just a moment. If I may, can I talk to you about our friends from the Wealth Advantage Group? Of course, there they are. Look at those handsome fellas. Mike Cusack, the dude on the left, Jeff Cusack, the dude on the right, who they're going to come on and talk college football with us one day, are ready to take charge of your financial future with you. You have to take the initiative, though. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. They are located in historic downtown Northville, owned by two brothers and friends of mine with over 20 years of an industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world is complex, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or visit their website at www.thewealthadv.com. This is interesting. Brad Marchand. Tammy said that. Marchand gets players off their games. Not a fan when he does dumb stuff, but Brad gets the job done. Can I say this, Tammy? I think I appreciate this about you because you can separate the rat from his effectiveness. And what I mean by that is this. I absolutely love Brady Tkachuk. I love Brady Tkachuk. I love Brad Marchand, okay? And you know why I love those guys? Because they bother the sin out of all of you. Let me go to war with a guy like that. You think if Brad Marchand played here or Brady Tkachuk, who might be public enemy number one in this town right now, could you imagine him as a Red Wing? People would absolutely adore him. I love Brady Tkachuk. Absolutely love him. And I was fortunate enough, same thing. I got a chance to do his first game when he was at the USNTDP. And I think I told you this, Blake, but for the benefit of people that aren't out there, he literally beat the snot over against an overager. He's 16. This kid's 20. They drop mitts. Brady literally beat the snot out of that guy. I will go to war with either one of those Tkachuk brothers any single day of the week. Any day. I can't hear you. I
might want to unmute.
Yeah, that's okay.
I muted myself during your read to be respectful.
Aww.
And then just started talking. But yeah, I agree.
Tage Thompson, another guy. I got a chance to see him back in the day. I was at a couple camps and saw him star. Tammy said Chelios from Chicago. I'm going to have a chat with Chris, by the way, on What the Puck. But I told everybody when I was doing a little show called Ice Time back in the day, I told everybody that would listen, okay, it might not be the first year, it might not be the second year, but eventually you're going to love Chris Chelios. When he plays for your team, as I saw him and named my first dog after him, I think people know that, you go to war with a guy like Chelly. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. So anybody else you want to admit that you have a love affair for, Blake, out of town?
Not off the top of my head. I just go back to like old college football players, like time and time again. It's like Pat White, like that whole era.
Pat White.
Ray Rice before he was not a good person at Rutgers. It's just guys like that. And there was one name that came to mind, but I don't know if I'm ready to admit it publicly. So can I just tell you?
Now you have to. It's Valentine's Day. It's all about like letting your heart show, Blake.
There's a certain quarterback in Minnesota that I've really grown to like and respect.
Are you serious?
I watched that quarterback show on Netflix.
You like that?
And I'm like, this guy, how do I not like him? He's such a likable, like wholesome dude. Yeah. And I'm like, I have nothing but respect for him, but I hated him when he was wearing green.
Oh, of course. Pat Verbeek, when he played for the Devils, one day the little ball of hate will be in the Hall of Fame. Oh, was he tough? Yeah, it's a good guy too. He's tough job out there in Anaheim. Boy, oh boy. It's I watched that game last night, Blake. Ugly, ugly watch. It's so funny how sometimes you mention college football. Sometimes you just, I don't know, you're watching a random game and you just fall in love with like a player. And then all of a sudden you just start watching them that year. And then like when that player's gone, like, I don't know, I'll just speak for me. Like, I don't care. I think I told you this before. This is probably a little bit before your time. In fact, I know it was, but Stefan LaFours and the Louisville Cardinals were like this cardiac team back in 2004. And I watched them early in the year and I made a point to watch them the rest of the year. And like, I just fell in love with them. And it was weird. It was like, and Stefan LaFours, I think he went to Carolina for a little bit, but you knew he was never one of those guys that was going to be a pro or anything like that. And I found myself just like I fell in love with them, fell in love with them.
100%.
All right, listen, can I do a real quick read for our last friends? And then, Blake, we got to get out of here. The guys from the Legacy Group, I talked to Joe last night, and I mentioned this. Joe and Alex and Dave, great guys. Do me a favor. If you're looking for something in the insurance world, do what thousands of Metro Detroiters have already done and call Legacy Partners to get help with your home and auto insurance. Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal, business, large, and small. Legacy has helped so many people by going in and fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverages to put in place to properly protect you and help you save some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much. You could be underinsured. That's why you give Legacy Partners a call. Give them a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Thank you so much to the guys from Legacy. Do me a favor, reach out to these guys, have a chat with them, support those that support us. It really helps us out, and Lord knows it helps them out as well. Blake, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Happy Valentine's Day out there to everybody. Let's remember why we love sports. Seriously. I mean, can you imagine life without sports? I almost start weeping, Blake, thinking about it.
I'd have to watch movies. I don't want that.
We're going to have to talk about that again. Blake has never seen any movie ever. It's unbelievable. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow with What the Puck. We have another special on a Detroit Red Wing alumni game. Trust me when I say this, the next few weeks, we have some big names lined up for What the Puck as well. We're talking about a special game tomorrow night. But for Blake, for Todd, I'm Sean Baligian saying thanks for checking us out here on Off the Air.
Off the Air with Sean Baligian, featuring Sean Baligian and Blake Majchrzak. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Majchrzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Play It Loud by Jam Studio. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Off the Air with Sean Baligian on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.